live and we're recording. And today I have the opportunity to welcome back the one and only Marissa Ambriz. Woo, background noise. And today we're going to talk about social media, TikTok, and the effects that it has on our personal lives, what it has also on our professional or career life, right? Because that's one of the main reasons we use social media is to get our names out there, to put what we do out to the world so they know who we are and what we do. So without further ado, let's start this podcast. So question number one, you've been doing TikTok for how long now? And tell us about that journey.
Okay, so I started TikTok in January or February of this year, Pablo, and it wasn't like something that I was doing specifically for business, but it turned out to be a good opportunity, so I ran with it. I remember the way I started was there was a trend, and it was called the Latina TikTok trend, and I don't know, maybe you guys... You as a guy and Sergio
I don't think
are not familiar with it, but basically it was a movement on TikTok where Latinas were supporting other Latinas. So it was a follow train. Okay. So basically if I followed you, you followed me back. Right. And I'm sorry, I'm getting hot. So basically it was a follow train, and I gained about 800 followers through that follow train. So I'm like, okay, 800 people, like that's enough audience to kind of like get you going on social media, right? And then I started incorporating some of the stuff that I like to do on social media, which is talk about beauty and fashion and, hair, makeup, all those fun things. And then I saw the opportunity to start talking about what I do for a living. I started getting questions about my profession as a realtor, and then I started talking about it. And then I had a couple of videos go viral. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to exclusively talk about real estate, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am. I'm not a huge creator yet. I have about 3,000, probably, I have about 3,000 followers at the moment. And I would like to have a bigger account, but also I take a lot of pride in maintaining the community. So It's not so much to me about the followers, the amount, like the number of followers, but more than anything, being able to keep that engagement and
absolutely.
So we're all a family.
So I wanted to say that real quick. I want to comment on that because you don't have that many followers. You're not in the hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands. However, I've noticed, and the rest of the team has noticed, that you get tons of engagement. So you get like hundreds of people, not like 10, 20, hundreds of people commenting, and you comment back. How do you sleep at night?
With the fan on.
Because I imagine you're responding. I mean, that takes time to sit there and respond to each one. And when do you do it too? Because, how do you talk about that? Talk about your engagement. Why is that important? And again, you don't have tens of thousands of followers, but you have, a few thousand.
I have a little family.
But I would say your comments on your total amount of comments is in the tens of thousands, perhaps.
Yeah, so I feel like when you have built a community that you care about, it's kind of hard not to answer comments and give, talk to your community. It's kind of like if you post something and your wife or one of your kids comments, you're very naturally inclined to respond to that comment in particular. Why? Because you have a connection with that person, right? And that's kind of how I feel with my community, with the, especially I think maybe 90% of women and girls follow me on TikTok. So, that's kind of like my besties. That's what I call them, right? Because I really do feel like we are all like best friends on social media, and we hype each other up. And so whenever they take a moment to comment on anything that I post, the least, or how do you say it? Like, how do you say that? Like, the least I can do is respond and interact and answer questions, because that's my community. That's my friends. Those are my girls. And
you're reciprocating. You're just returning the favor of like, hey, you're giving me you're giving me you as an audience.
Yeah.
So let me give back to you. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly. That's how I see it.
Now, how is that affecting your business? Because I know that you're talking to people not just here. So you're in Fresno, right? And watch the previous interview. She'll talk about her kind of background. But you're currently in Fresno. That's your real estate market, is Fresno and the Bay Area too. But you're reaching people in other states.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that?
I'm reaching people in states that I never knew existed. Places out in Florida. I mean, I know.
You've only seen in the movies.
Yeah, like cities out in Florida, cities in Washington that I never knew existed. I'm getting people from all over the country, and I think that's super cool. I've even had people outside of the U.S. reach out to me for help. Fortunately, we are with EXP, which is global. They are located outside of the U.S. and that's, it's really neat to be able to connect people that come to me with, needs, real estate needs, connect them with somebody in their area that.
It's the only real estate company that I know of that makes it so easy to connect someone. Let's say someone in Mexico comments on your story. We did this with Esmeralda, where we went to on the website and we looked up EXP agents in Mexico, and there was a ton of them. So it's so easy to be able to give a referral to your amigas or your besties.
To my besties, yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's, I really am happy about that transition over to EXP because it merges very well with social media.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's technology based. Social media is technology based, so it just totally makes sense that those two
go hand in hand.
EXP is the equivalence of what Netflix is, right? Like, it's all technology. It's all there online. There's no need for you to go. Although, I mean, we do meet in an office, but there's no need for you to go to an office per se. Everything is there.
Yeah,
it's available. And then we have Zoom now. So, but yeah, that connection, that's a great connection to have between your audience and what this company provides in the platform, right? So our little pitch for EXP there.
Yeah.
But okay, so prior to TikTok, my understanding is that you were also on YouTube. So tell us about your YouTube.
My YouTube stint.
Yeah, you were like a YouTube star for a bit.
That was also accidental. A lot of the things that I do
accident
are accidents.
More accidents.
They're never planned that well. I think in that time, let me see, how did I stumble upon YouTube? So I've always liked social media platforms. I've always liked being on camera ever since I was young. And somebody just mentioned like, hey, give us fashion tips, give us fashion advice. And I'm like, well, what better way to do it than on YouTube, where we could potentially monetize, right? And get paid for something that we like to do. I was new to real estate. I wasn't very, very busy. It was right before COVID started, and I got the idea to start doing clothing hauls because I loved watching clothing hauls. I love watching what other girls that look like me were wearing. So I'm like, okay, let me give it a shot. I set up my iPhone and I had my lights and ordered my first package from Shein. And I started, doing videos. I started making videos and just doing it more for fun and learning the process, which YouTube has its own very interesting process. Mm-hmm. But I learned so much. I went full force and completely submerged myself in that world. And I remember reaching out to another YouTuber who is very, very popular on YouTube. And I asked her, how do you get these companies like major brands to sponsor you and want to work with you? Because I would always see that she was sponsored by blah and sponsored by this, and so she was like, well, I just went to them and I asked them.
Oh wow.
And they just basically like not begged them, but I requested that they work with me and I'm like, okay. So I'm like, there has to be a better way. So I got the great idea of teaching people how to order clothing on Shein. And at that point, Shein was very brand new to the YouTube scene and to the clothing
I don't even know what Shein is.
Shein,
it's a clothing company?
It's a clothing company from overseas, I believe Chinese company. And they have really, really good prices on fashion. things are not the best quality, but that's another story for another day. But they got very popular because the clothing was very affordable. Okay. So I got the idea of making a video for how to order on Shein, because a lot of people were scared to order because they weren't sure if the clothing was going to fit them. That was a number one concern at that point when ordering from Shein. I don't want to order because they're Chinese sizes, and what if they don't fit me? So I walked people through. I did some live examples, and that video was my first viral video on YouTube. It got maybe 100,000 views.
Oh, wow.
And tons of likes. And maybe in the span of 6 or 7 months, I gained 8,000 followers.
Wow.
Quickly.
That's awesome.
I was shook. So I started making more content. Well, Shein got wind of that video because there wasn't very many of those.
Wow.
And then one day it was, I took a screenshot and it was Shein in my inbox, in my email.
Way.
And Shein said, we want to work with you.
That's awesome. So, okay. So kind of accidental, but
yeah,
I mean, you put some intentionality into it. Yeah.
I mean,
so
I wasn't just like throwing things, and to see what would stick. I mean, it was unintentional in the fact that like I never thought I would get to that point. I just thought let me make.
We got to get you back on YouTube.
Yeah, that is coming in 2024.
2024 YouTube also. Watch out. Watch for Marissa and Brisa. Well, okay, so man, so many questions, but I can't ask them all. What would you suggest to your viewer out there if they want to get into TikTok, YouTube? Like, where should they start? What should they do? Because there's so much information out there, Marissa, even myself, like there's so much information that I get what's called paralysis analysis. Like, it's so much good stuff, like conferences. I have programs, but there's just so much. And I think actually, I'll share this real quick. The last conference I went to, an influencer said, even if you're not ready, just start, right? So part of the reason why I started this podcast was I don't feel ready, but I'm going to do it. And hopefully I can lead by example in that and just, do what we're doing now, right? Just talking about life and real estate and some of these things that happen to us in our lives that really have profound effects. So, but what would you tell people if they're starting?
I mean, you said it well. Just do it. Just get on there and start. And the perfecting part is going to come once you are elbows deep into whatever it is that you guys are trying to do. My second tip is know who you want to be talking to. Right?
Know your audience.
Know your audience. When I was doing YouTube, I wanted to make videos for people that could relate to me. So I was doing curvy girl, plus size, fashion content. And even though I was doing that, I still had a lot of girls that maybe were not plus size, maybe were not curvy, but they, they resonated with me on some level.
They still appreciated what you were doing.
Yeah, and so that's how my channel grew. But start with the audience who you can relate to, who you want to speak to. Like start with that audience. And then the last tip would be yourself. One of the reasons that I see a lot of people that want to go on social media do not do well, do not ever reach the point where they want to reach is because they're not themselves.
Sure.
There's still a wall.
You feel like there's a little bit of
insecurity, what people are going to think, how and of course we all have a little bit of that, like we all want our best angle out there. But in terms of personality, let your personality shine because everybody wants to see realness.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see a very like, hello, my name's Marissa Ambriz and this is my clothing. I hope no, like they want to see me trying it on. They want to see me sweating. They want to see me like, oh shoot, this makes me look like blah, blah, blah. They want to see.
They want to see you struggle a little bit. Like I think that's
because we want that human like empathy in a way. We want that human connection. Like, oh, he's like me.
Right.
And and that person's still successful and they're very much like me. Like we can do this, right? Sure. And I just think those three things. Know who you're speaking to, let your true authentic self come out, and just do it.
Well, you're doing it good. I like the way you're doing it. I've even like compared you to some of our mentors that have hundreds of thousands of followers, and I've mentioned to them like, hey, dude, you don't engage with your audience. Like you had all these followers and they're following you, have high production levels, but they're not even talking to you, you know? And
Yeah,
and even those guys acknowledge like, yeah, you're right. I got to engage more. So I think what you're doing is awesome. You're on the right path. You're doing real estate, you know, full time. So you're going to connect with so many people that follow you. So I have one more tip,
Yes,
by
sir.
the way, one more advice. And I want you to remember this. Subscribe to this channel and hit the like button.
I like that. That
You like
was
that,
very
right?
much
That
part.
was good. That was smooth. That was smooth
very-
right there. Yeah, my guys back here, they're listening. Like,
He's
what,
like-
what is it? What is that fourth one? No, but in all seriousness, I appreciate you guys watching these videos. My hope is that we'll, you know, Marissa, you haven't been doing this for, you know, 10,
Couple
20
years.
years. You've been doing this for a couple years, but already in those couple years, what you've, you know, gleaned from just, you know, what you've done and learned, they can glean off of that, right? They can learn off of what you've, you know, been doing and maybe even some of your mistakes. So absolutely. Just do it. Yep. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. You're doing the right way. And by the way, what's your handle on TikTok so people can follow you on TikTok?
TikTok, follow me at marissa.ambriz. We're going to leave it somewhere on here.
Yep.
So you guys can
Yep.
follow and stay.
And you already know mine, Invest with Pablo on Instagram and TikTok. And Marissa's really good about responding. So send her a message.
Yeah.
She'll get back to you.
If you guys need
So,
help with social media
sure.
or if you guys want to connect,
Awesome.
do so.
I appreciate you.
Hey.
Thank you guys. See you on the next one.